nudging flow through smart goal setting to decrease stress, increase engagement, and increase performance at work. Tell us a little bit about this research. What is nudging, and yeah, how can we increase goal setting and performance through it?
Yeah. So this study was really the culmination of like all of my lives into one thing, which is really exciting. So obviously we've talked about my passion for flow and how flow has all these great benefits, especially in the workplace. We can think about, flow reducing stress and improving engagement and performance, which are all like super important things in the workplace right now. In my startup work, I had worked for education technology companies that helped people to develop skills that helped them in the workplace. And so when I started to do flow research, I really wanted to look into interventions, and interventions in the workplace have been very understudied because it's very difficult to do studies where you're running experiments and where organizations allow you to kind of run experiments on their employees. And so I wanted to try to test these out because there really weren't any interventions that had been like empirically studied at work. Um, and so what I was kind of looking at different options for different types of interventions, one that was sort of a low hanging fruit that had some empirical support in the past was for goal setting. And so goal setting theory is one of the kind of most supported theories in psychology in general. This is basically the idea that if you set goals that are pretty specific, that have some sort of time orientation, that are, again, like challenging yet not overwhelming, that like there's all these beneficial outcomes from setting those goals. At the same time, clear goals are one of the prerequisites of getting into flow. So I felt like, okay, here's a place where theory and practice can like really come together. What if we encourage people to set goals, and we use the SMART goal framework, which also has a good amount of support in the literature, to try to get people to get into flow and also show that flow leads to these positive outcomes at work, because flow is just understudied in the workplace in general. And so we said, okay, how can we actually get people to do this? How can we encourage them to set goals? And that's where the idea of nudges came in. So nudges are a tool essentially that Richard Thaler and Cass Sunstein wrote a book about in 2008. Thaler ended up getting a Nobel Prize in economics for this idea. And the idea is basically that nudges help people to make the best choice for themselves without making them mandatory. And so nudges basically have three theoretical underpinnings of them. So they have to be really easy to act on, or actually a default thing that you don't have to do anything to act upon. So one example of what's called like a default mode nudge is having people contribute to their 401ks by default. So when you join a company, instead of having you opt in to contribute to those 401ks, it automatically happens. You can decide you don't want to do that, and you certainly have the option to change the way that it happens. But by default, you start contributing, and they found that like when you do this type of nudge, that the amount of people who end up contributing to 401ks goes up by like a crazy amount. So they have to be easy. They have to be optional. So again, the idea is you can change that choice, and they also have to lead to a positive outcome. So there's all this research about why, contributing to your 401k is good for your kind of long-term financial outlook. And so, I love this idea of nudges. I think it's something really exciting, and that technology is sort of going into a place where these can be applied a lot easier and more effectively. And so I said, okay, why don't we nudge people in the beginning of the day to set SMART goals? And so we had a control group and an experimental group. of individuals that were recruited online across a whole bunch of different types of work. For the experimental group, we sent them a text in the morning, essentially. So that was the nudge. We said, here are what SMART goals are. So SMART goals are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time oriented. And we gave them an example. So we said, this is what they mean. And here's an example of what a SMART goal is. Set 3 SMART goals for today. And, throughout the day, we would ping them and ask them to fill out basically 30-second measures of, what state that they were in. And at the end of the day, we would also say, like, how did you perform today? And had them do a self-reported performance and engagement measures. We did that for a week. And at the end of the week, we found out, we analyzed the data, and we saw that people who did those SMART goals, who set those SMART goals, they felt flow more frequently. Again, we that really helped them to focus on the things that they needed to accomplish during the day, and that flow led to less stress throughout the day and throughout the week, and people were more engaged and felt that they performed better than the control group. So those were some really exciting findings and really easily implementable, right? You can actually, and the sort of genesis of this idea was that I did this to myself. I set reminders for myself in the morning to set these goals, and then to execute on those goals throughout the day. So you can implement this right now for yourself, and hopefully that will help you get more flow throughout the day and the week.